have three news stories for you viewers. Firstly, US Embassy in Eritrea has issued a statement. US Embassy is calling upon Isaias Afwerki, Eritrean president, to release political prisoners who were thrown in prison more than 20 years ago. Secondly, Ethiopian Human Rights Commission has launched an investigation into alleged killings of civilians in and near Kobo. Kobo in North Wollo. I have been updating you about fighting in and near Kobo over the past few days. Now, Ethiopian Human Rights Commission says it has received some reports about human rights abuses in and near Kobo. Thirdly, TPLF allied news sources are saying that Eritrean forces are positioning themselves for a major offensive against a Tigray Defense Force. TPLF allied news sources are saying that in three places on three fronts, Eritrean forces and Ethiopian National Defense Forces are planning a major offensive on TDF. We'll have a detailed look at the three fronts. Firstly, viewers, the US Embassy in Eritrea has issued a statement. US Embassy says that in the spirit of upcoming Meskel holiday, Meskel is a Christian holiday. It's due to come on the 27th of September. In the spirit of upcoming Meskel holiday, US Embassy in Eritrea is calling upon Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki to release political prisoners. US Embassy says that 20 years ago in September, a group of Eritrean officials wrote a letter to Eritrean government. They called for democratic reforms. G15 group was the name of the group of officials. After that, Eritrean government launched a crackdown on these officials, on students, on journalists, and without any trial, hundreds were thrown into prisons. Human rights agencies, human rights bodies say there are thousands of political prisoners in the prisons of Eritrea. So US Embassy is raising its voice for these political prisoners in Eritrea. Because people complain that why is that the Western countries and the US interfere in internal matters of African countries. Western countries and the US interfere in internal matters of these countries, African countries, because there are no credible and impartial institutions in most of African countries. Regional blocks, regional institutions have not delivered as well. How many times have you heard African Union raising voice for political prisoners in Eritrea or in other countries of Africa? So, internal institutions and regional bodies are not working. That is why the West, the US, they intervene. At least someone is raising voice for these poor prisoners who have been in prison for more than 2 decades, viewers. Secondly, viewers, Ethiopian Human Rights Commission has issued a statement. It says that it has received some reports that civilians have been killed, their properties have been looted, civil infrastructure has been damaged by TPLF fighters in and near Kobo city. Ethiopian Human Rights Commission says it has launched an investigation into these reports. I have been updating you about fighting to the east of Kobo city over the past few days. Fighting happened almost 4 days ago, viewers. We have received conflicting reports about this fighting, Amhara news sources and now Ethiopian Human Rights Commission say that fighting occurred between locals and TDF fighters, and TDF fighters have killed scores of innocent civilians. Some other sources say fighting happened between Afar militias and TDF fighters on Afar, Amhara border areas to the east of Kobo city. But most sources have confirmed that fighting did happen to the east of Kobo city, and some persons have been killed as well. TPLF spokesperson, Tigray President spokesperson Getachew or other Tigray bodies, none of them has issued any statement in this regard so far. But Amhara news sources say that another massacre has been committed in Kobo by TPLF members, like they did in China in Gondar. Lastly, viewers, the TPLF allied news sources are saying that Eritrean forces are taking up positions on 3 fronts, and they are planning a joint offensive with Ethiopian National Defense Forces on Tigray Defense Force. According to TPLF allied news sources, Eritrean forces are firstly in Gondar, secondly in Wollo, thirdly in Afar. On these 3 fronts, Eritrean forces and Ethiopian National Defense Forces are making preparations for a joint offensive on Tigray Defense Force. There is presence of Eritrean forces in western Tigray. So apart from western Tigray, in Amhara, in Afar regions, according to TPLF allied news sources, a new offensive is in the making. Now, I can confirm there is presence of Eritrean forces in western Tigray. We have visual confirmation as well. I can also confirm that Eritreans were part of fighting on Gondar front too, when TDF tried to advance towards Gondar city. Eritreans intervened from western Tigray, and TDF's offensive on Gondar, it failed. What about Eritrean presence in Wollo? We have been hearing claims from TPLF allied news sources that Eritrean forces have arrived on Dassi front. Now, another claim that they are in Afar too, and from Afar, Wollo, Gondar, from all these 3 fronts, a joint offensive is in the making against Tigray Defense Force. Well, in the coming days, we'll be able to verify or reject this claim. Afar forces have been neutral so far. We haven't seen any large-scale attacks from Afar forces on TDF positions in Wollo, especially near Dassi, Vuldia side. So that is why maybe in coming days we'll be able to say for sure about the presence of Eritrean forces in Afar and in Wollo. If there is presence of Eritrean forces in Afar and they're planning a major offensive, Eritreans, ENDF, Afar forces, Romia forces from Afar towards Wollo, Wollo could come under pressure. TDF could come under pressure on Wollo front. That's what happens. In coming days, we'll be able to say for sure about the role of Eritrean forces in the new offensive on TDF from ENDF. Thanks for watching.